meeting to order.
Nothing.
I invite you to join with me in the invocation. Dear Lord, we are grateful for all that you have given us and look forward to the end of winter and entering the season of Lent. Teach us to give up the negative we face in the world today and work to overcome our struggles in this community and our country. We see your amazing touch each day of our life and look forward to the gifts as we move forward. In all that we do, let us put our trust in you, that all will be forgiven and all will be protected. We ask in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Our next item is supposed to be a presentation, but he is not here yet, so we're going to skip it and come back if he shows up. Number 4, approval of minutes. Consider approval of the February 11th adjourned and closed session meeting minutes and the February 17th regular and closed session meeting minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Aldridge, second by Councilmember Louder. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving into our announced delegation. First is Commission for Accreditation on Law Enforcement Agencies is here to evaluate our police department, and they wish to speak with us tonight.
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Every 3 years, the Albemarle Police Department is accredited by CALEA, which stands for Commission for Accreditation on Law Enforcement Agencies. This happens to be the year that we are to be accredited, and we have 2 assessors that have come down and would wish to address the council about the police department. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Good afternoon, evening, Mayor, Council. I'm Richard Barnhart. I'm a retired chief of police and an active current city council member for the West Carrollton, Ohio Police Department and City of West Carrollton. I'm one of the assessors that's going to be here over the next 3 days, along with Carrie Williams. She's out riding with officers right now. She is a captain with the Valdosta, Georgia Police Department. So the Commission on Accreditation has contracted us to come in and to be here for 4 days. We started this morning with travel, and then we got in here around 1 o'clock this afternoon. At this point, we're going to be here for 3 more days. We're going to look at the standards that the agency is to comply with. Currently, the Commission has 484 standards, all of which are not applicable to your agency, but many of them are. So we just go through and we review the standards. We're going to be interviewing people from the agency, business people, clergy members, and citizens over the next 3 days, just to determine that they are complying with the standards that they say they are. Now, as you may or may not know, they were originally accredited in 1995, so they have a great history with accreditation and have been reaccredited. This will be their 8th time, so we don't anticipate any problems. I've actually been talking back and forth with the chief and Captain Hunt over the last month or so, going over files and things just to make sure that we're all on the same page. CALEA is a non-adversarial group now, so we're here to just see that they're complying with them, and then we will help them with any issues that they have. So far, we have found nothing that would impede this assessment that we're making. So the next 3 days, we hope to just do our interviews, ride along with the officers at least once or twice a day so that we're out in the community can see us. The officers who are working the street can see us and kind of have a buy-in to this process, because it's a way of managing the police department. Now, the CALEA standards don't tell you how to do it. It just tells you what the standards are. So it's up to the chief and the accreditation people to determine how you want to meet each standard. And since '95, they have been doing a great job with it. So we just kind of wanted to introduce myself and say, if you know anything about accreditation, it is a tough process. It's a continual process. So when we're out here in 3 days, I'll write up a report, send it to the commission. They'll review it for about a month, and then at a hearing, they'll receive their reaccreditation. But during that time, then they start their next phase. So it's continual, and then annually, they will be talking to a customer service representative from CALEA and going over files. So it's not an ending process. It just continues on. You go from one assessment to the next. And in closing, accreditation doesn't make you a professional agency. It just substantiates that you are one. And, you know, they've been a great professional agency since 1995, and we expect nothing less. Thank you for your time, and I'll answer any questions if you have any.
Thank you very much for coming. The council have any questions?
I do have a question.
Sure.
So you're here until when?
Thursday. We'll fly out Thursday.
Thursday afternoon, Thursday morning?
Probably closer to the morning, based upon traffic and such.
So basically, you'll be here to talk with people tomorrow, Tuesday, and Wednesday?
Yes, we'll have a call-in session tomorrow, and then we'll have a public hearing tomorrow evening. So citizens can call in or they can stop by. And I'd have to get the calendar for the exact times.
The public hearing is 6 o'clock in this room tomorrow night.
Okay. I knew it was at 6. I'm not sure. The call-in, I think, is around 1.
Okay, and a call-in is?
Basically, the agency had to publish a phone number either on the websites and out into the community for anybody, citizen, business person, anybody in the community or outside the community that's had any type of contact with the police department. They can call in and give us comments on whether a lot of people just call in and say, hey, they're a great agency, they do a great job, which really is not what it's designed for. But we take those comments down and we submit them to the commission for them to review. It's basically for them to tell us if they think they're meeting the standards.
And that was published like on our Facebook page or the police department's Facebook page? They do
Yes.
the same thing.
Yeah.
And you made the comment that you've got some meetings scheduled with some business folks and clergy and that kind of thing. Is that during the call-in or is that addition?
No, that's in addition to. Prior to us getting here, Captain Hunt has set up interviews for every day that we're here for different people. So basically, he's pretty much got us scheduled out most of the day.
Tomorrow and Wednesday?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. If anybody wanted to get in touch with you, though, is there a number? I mean, let's see, hold on. Tonight won't be aired until Wednesday night, so isn't that right? Or we aired on
David, is that on your website page and your Facebook page? If not, will you repost it? I know I've seen it several times, but post it again, please.
So a number is on there.
Yes.
But tonight's meeting is aired when?
Tomorrow night.
When?
Wednesday.
Wednesday night, okay.
Yeah, so if they call that number, it comes directly into the assessors. So
Got you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great evening.
You too.
Number 6, we have another announced delegation with us. We have the Boy Scouts from Troop 191 that is sponsored by Central United Methodist Church here with us tonight. And I don't think their instructor was able to come tonight due to some sickness, so we're going to let each one of them come up, introduce themselves, and tell us what they're doing. And if they have any questions to us, we will answer your questions. Who would like to
They're
start?
patrol leaders, actually. One of the two patrol leaders coming first.
My name is James Horton, and we're with Troop 191, and I'm the patrol leader. We're here for the Citizenship in the Nation Merit Badge and Communications Merit Badge.
Okay. Thank you.
My name is Ellison McDowell. I'm a 7th grader at Greystone Day, and I have my first class merit badge, and I'm in Troop 191.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dylan Burns. I'm with Troop 191. I'm a junior in high school, and I'm here working on my citizenship in the community and communications.
Thank you. Next.
I gave
I'm Andrew Huggins, and I'm with Troop 191. I go to South Stanley Middle School, and I'm working on my citizenship in the community.
Thank you.
What's this part?
My name is Caleb. I'm in Troop 191. I have my first class, and I'm working on communications and citizenship in the nation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Floyd. I'm in Troop 191, and I'm working on my citizenship and communication.
Thank you.
All right.
Now, do any of you have a question for us? How many years have you been in Scouts? Just start and go down. How many years you been in Scouts? Start right here on this end. 2 years? 5? 6?
So when I was a cub and I'm here now, so.
Yeah.
Red.
8?
Good.
What's the next badge you'll be going after?
Well, we have summer camp coming up in June, I believe. So we're going to be working on some Eagle Fire badges there.
Okay.
Good deal.
All right. What do you want to do when you get out of Scouts? Or what do you want to do for your Eagle Project? Have you
Oh,
decided?
my.
Have you thought about that yet, what you're going to do?
I think they need to come up front, though, if they're going to talk about that, Mayor. They need to, so we can hear them.
Anybody picked out their Eagle Project? Come on up and tell us what you're going to do.
Yes.
All right, so I'm sure everybody knows about the Albemarle Library, that underneath section with those statues.
Right?
Yeah, it's black and it's kind of old and worn. I was called to repaint it for my Eagle project, maybe make it look like something from a book.
Right.
Congratulations. Thank you very much. We look forward to that. Anybody else? Come on, anybody that knows what they're going to do.
I go to Albemarle High for high school right now, and I want to fix up some of the classrooms because they're in poor repair right now.
Very good.
Thank you.
Good job.
Anybody else made a decision?
That's half the project, half the problem. You know that, don't you?
Okay, one more time. Any question you've got for us? Anybody want to ask us anything?
That's to cut it off.
No.
Well, thank you very much for coming. We appreciate you being here.
Stay as long as you can.
That's right, and stay as,
Yeah, you can leave when you need to, but you're welcome to stay the entire meeting also.
I think Ms. McDowell would say they got at least stay till 7:15 or 7:20.
No,
Good for you.
Number 7, recycling participation and market trend updates.
One of my favorite subjects. And actually, these guys probably know a lot about recycling. I find sometimes the youth help teach the parents. So I left with each of you just a brief update on recycling, just so that you have kind of some bullets of what I wanted to kind of go over. I wanted to kind of bring you up to date as to what started this conversation more recently, and that was 2-3 years ago. China cut back on what they accepted and actually stopped to some degree accepting what we used to always send. About greater than 50% of the paper and plastics from our country went over to China. They had new import policies. They had what some people called the green fence, Operation Blue Sky, but essentially it got to where it was only 0.5% of contaminated items would they let come across. So essentially, if you think of 0.5%, that means pretty much everything's crystal clear. Very clean, not a lot of debris, not a lot of contamination. So as a country, we had to really kind of buckle down and clean up our act. Literally clean up some of the materials that we're working to recycle. And so common contaminants that you would see would be, if you have a soda bottle and there's half a soda in it, that's contaminating that stream, because once that soda bottle opens up, all that sugary goodness goes across all the other products in that load. Or if you have a pizza box, maybe the top's fine, but the bottom may have a lot of grease from the pizza. So when they're trying to use those materials, that grease or that soda or whatever it is that's contaminating that actually interferes with the recycling process. So just had a few updates there. Just to let you know, in 2017, obviously, as one that accepts the recycling materials from the city of Albemarle and processed those, we used to take those to Sunoco Recycling in Salisbury, and it was at a zero cost for the actual commodities. That went to a grinding halt, and it was early, I think 2018, that they started having a processing charge, and then 3 months after that, they significantly increased that processing charge, along with the fact that at that point, they stopped taking what we call single stream. So they stopped taking materials that were all together, the plastic, aluminum cans, milk jugs, paper, cardboard, that's single stream, and they stopped taking that. So that's when we as a company found an alternative, and that's what we're currently doing today. So the processing cost dramatically increased, and what's driven that has been the commodities. So as much as we wish that we could control those commodity pricing, we don't. The supply is great and the demand was low, but that's actually starting to change just a little bit. So we saw just a couple of examples I shared here. Cardboard used to sell at about $185 a ton, and in 1 year's time, it went down to about $35 a ton. So that's significant because a lot of times, even those that maybe don't have expertise in recycling recognize the value that cardboard's typically had. You know, you think about it. Third quarter of every year, the price would go up on what that commodity paid. Just think of all the retailers and shippers and so forth that use commodities such as cardboard to ship their goods. That didn't happen. And as we went through 2019, we saw that it still did not increase. In fact, it has remained at $35 a ton throughout 19 until last month it went to $30 a ton. So in the month of February, we saw it for the first time, I think, in 18 months, actually went up about $5 a ton. So that's good. Another thing that we've seen and we've really focused on, and I thank the city and I thank the residents particularly, and that is working on reducing contamination. So if we can reduce contamination, that makes the materials cleaner. The materials are cleaner, you have more companies, more mills that want to buy those materials. And so therefore, if you increase your demand because you've got cleaner product, then the market's going to start leveling itself out. It won't be a 0 to 60 level, but that is one thing that we can absolutely do to contribute to improving that. And so we've seen contamination rates in the city of Albemarle have slight declines, which in this case a decline is good when you're reducing contamination. So we want to continue to see that. We thank Ross and his team as well as Mr. Ferris and his team for helping get the word out or posting when we've had things that we can post that kind of leads ourselves to kind of educate ourselves. And that's reducing the plastic bags. The plastic bags you get at grocery stores are recyclable in humongous quantities. So take those back to the grocery store because they can actually take that and combine it with several millions of those and recycle those. Clothing, we see that sometimes in the recycling bins. But if you take that back to the Goodwills or Salvation Armies or donate, there's a way that things can be recycled that don't have to go into the recycling bin. So we really want to see in the recycling bin plastics that, if you think of it, if it has a neck, it's probably recyclable. If it doesn't, it may not be. So if you look at your milk jugs or your orange juice containers, or you look at your soda bottles rinsed out, all that is recyclable. Aluminum cans, still recyclable. We still have a way to recycle glass. Some communities have not been able to, but there is an outlet for a recycler here in the state of North Carolina where that glass is able to go and be recycled. So there's a lot of uses we can see for recycled items, and we hope that in time the market will improve itself. Okay?
We see other areas dropping glass. Do you foresee that happening or not?
Not at this time. We partner with Strategic Materials, which is a glass recycler. It's probably one of the few in North Carolina, if not one of the main ones in North Carolina. And so the material that we collect from the city ends up going through our material recycling facility, and all the glass is segregated and shipped to Strategic Materials, and they're located in Wilson, North Carolina. I actually went to that facility with Carolina Recycling Association, had a one-day event there, so I was able to tour the facility a couple months ago, and it was really impressive. But yes, at this time, we're still accepting the glass. Yes, sir.
Do you have anything that, or maybe does the city, do we have anything on our website that indicates what is contaminated and what's not, what's good recyclable material and what's not? I mean, I just want to make sure the citizens know.
Absolutely.
Hey, when they order a pizza and it's got grease in it, don't put that in recycling. Or do we have a way to educate?
So this was posted on the website. Basically, I know Recycle Right. So it's saying we find that words help, and the pictures help a lot. So we were able to have what's recyclable and then also the things to avoid. So if we can eliminate those plastic bags and we can eliminate food, rinse out the containers, those type of things, that honestly would reduce half of what we're seeing in recycling. And then educate individuals or our neighbors or our friends, don't put your clothes in there. Don't put your leaves in there. Don't put your, wood in there. Those things probably have outlets, just not with your single-stream recycling. Yes, sir.
One thing that's interested me since the very beginning, don't we send a lot of this to Asia?
We used to. So
I'm just wondering why. Think of the enormous logistical problem of
absolutely
shipping trash from North Carolina to the West Coast to Asia.
We used to, but over the last year and a half to 2 years, Waste Management, at least the material recycling facilities that we have, we keep those within the states. So most of the materials, yes, sir.
In the state of
and actually, that can improve. There are mills that are coming on in the next 18 months to 3 years that are being built. So it will give additional outlets in the state for us to take materials. And one, I think, is down in Alabama. One is in the Midwest. Another, I thought it was near Georgia somewhere. But I just remember there was locations in proximity that they didn't have to go all the way to California or all the way to, long distances. So that definitely, you're absolutely right, that definitely helps, because it's not just getting the material clean, it's also making sure it gets to the appropriate location so that therefore it can be processed.
Do you process wine bottles?
Strategic Materials does. So
He processes them and then you process
I
them.
have a friend who said,
yes,
he talks about every 2 weeks he has his walk of shame
when he puts it in his bin.
When he takes his bin out to the street.
Well, now, if he drank all that's in that bottle, that actually helps the recycling stream.
How do you handle residents that repetitively contaminate the recyclables?
So we have tags that we use, and we tag those carts. So if we see a lot of repeat, we have a tag, and it basically has things that we can check. If they had material in there that was not recyclable, then we can check that and leave it on the cart. I call them oops tags, but there's probably a better name for it. Yes, sir.
As a follow-up to that, do we have a lot of people that repeatedly contaminate the stuff or not?
There are a handful of locations, and in some of those cases we might reach out to our partners here in the city, and sometimes the driver's able to see the resident, if he's there, and just say, hey, did you know I honestly believe, and it's probably because I believe in people are good intentioned. I've said this for a while, contamination I think comes with the best of intentions. People just don't know oftentimes. I don't think it's anything malicious, and so that's where education and anything that we can do to share that information really helps.
Thank you.
This information that was sent in our package, I thought was excellent. It's so easy, and because honestly, my husband would say, "Don't put that pizza box in there." And to your point, if it's clean and doesn't have the grease and all that, I'm going to tell him next time we can.
Yes.
So I like the myths and all this, and I'm wondering if this is something if we could put this PDF out on our website as a point of reference.
I think it is there, and we've actually shared it on social media just recently. It's something we do, on occasion, try to keep it in front of people.
It's a very good piece.
Was it this whole link, this whole document?
No, not the whole document. It was the snapshot about what you can recite with the pictures.
That's the only thing I think is
what we find is if we can simplify the messaging,
right?
And again, not just have words, but also have pictures. That seems to really, I think we're all like that. I think as people, sometimes we're not readers, but we can sure look at a picture and get the message. So that's what we want to make sure, we're communicating. And also just to kind of kudos the state, NCDEQ and several folks within the state, they've had an effort also to promote education within our communities. I know there's a Facebook site called Recycle More NC, and I follow it, and it's done a very good job. And they have like a weekly little message that comes out identifying a specific material, and they've done a really good job with that.
Well, I read through the whole thing, and I thought I was keeping up pretty well, and I found out a few
things. I didn't know we could recycle bottle caps.
Yes.
On
leave
the tube?
them on your plastic bottle.
Aerosol cans.
Yep, if they're
You know,
empty.
we could do aerosol cans. Milk cartons.
Yes. Rinse them out, but
I
they
had
can
no
go in
idea.
there. Yes, sir.
Just
Yes,
follow
ma'am.
up. So I like the handout that you gave us. One of the things that's in that I did not see in the presentation that was sent was such a true statement. With the new Pfeiffer Health Sciences Center, we will see an influx of millennials and Gen Z who will expect to live in a sustainable city that recycles, reduce, reuse, and that recycles.
Yes.
As like our young guys right there. I
Well,
mean,
and they
that's what-
probably could get up here and give this communication as well as I could.
So
But
I'm
yes,
so glad that you
absolutely.
acknowledge that. And I will just give you just thanks every time I reach out to you on behalf of our residents. They'll call me or they'll send me a message saying they forgot it, they missed it, they didn't come, and you're right back to it. So thanks for being
Absolutely.
so quick.
We
and,
appreciate the partnership with the city, genuinely.
And the other thing is,
Yes,
I'm
ma'am.
so happy that you spell Albemarle, continue to spell Albemarle correctly.
Yes.
And no.
How
really,
would you not?
People put an R in there, and that you spelled Pfeiffer correctly.
Well,
okay?
and full disclosure, Pfeiffer has been a customer of ours for more than 2
Okay.
decades.
Well, that's a good thing,
So,
but you spell it
we
correctly.
have a definite affinity towards Pfeiffer University.
That's
So
right.
we're excited doubly that Pfeiffer's expanding,
yeah.
and we're excited to see them here in Albemarle as well. So, but yes, so the students that will be attending the university, without question, because we work with a lot of universities and higher education facilities, absolutely, I can tell you, sustainability, recycling are key buttons. If they know that, I mean, quite frankly, this is probably about 5 years old. 76% of students that are applying to a higher education university want to know if that university is sustainable. And that's an old fact, so it may even be a little bit higher now. But that's something that's very important. And I have 3 millennials that are all in college right now myself. So definitely it's something that they look at. Any more questions?
Anyone else?
Okay.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it. Number 8, Stanley County School Resource Officer Grant Program.
Do that one more time, Mayor.
School Resource Officer Grant Program.
No tongue twister.
Yeah.
As council may know, we have currently 2 school resource officers, one at the high school and one at the middle school. We have been approached by Stanley County Schools for a grant that would fund a 3rd SRO, and that SRO, I believe, is to be shared between the 2 elementary schools, East Albemarle Elementary and Central Elementary School. So we have got someone from the Stanley County Schools here to speak with us about that grant. So we'll bring her up.
Beverly.
Hello, Beverly.
Good evening. First of all, Mayor Michael and Councilman, thank you for having us tonight. I also have with me here this evening Ms. Vicki Calvert, our Assistant Superintendent for Personnel and Student Services. I am Beverly Pennington. I am Director of Student Services and Athletics. And with that, I have the opportunity to work on part of our school safety, mostly that deals with our students directly. So I partner with our local townships, the Sheriff's Department, on our SRO programs, and enjoy having that support there throughout the community. Back in late 2019, a few months ago, we found out that we were successful in a grant that we submitted, and that we were chosen to receive funding for 2 years. It is a recurring grant in the amount of $33,333. And we had reached out to the City of Albemarle Police Department and asked if they wanted to consider adding a 3rd SRO, and Chief Doolan was very interested. So we would like to see if we can't move forward with that partnership. It would be $33,333 for this school year, which we're already in March, and then another $33,333 next school year. With the next school year, the state considers around $50,000 the cost of an SRO, And the school system would, as our other SROs are set up, we pay half and the city pays half. So in year 2, it would be splitting a cost of approximately $16,667. And then after that, in year 3, if we decide to keep that SRO, it would fall back into just that standard agreement that we have, that we split that 50-50 with the city.
Beverly, go into the original, what we had thought was going to occur is not going to occur. I know, understand there's some changes Friday since our agenda come out. Will you go into particulars
Right.
of what's going to change?
We are in March, as I mentioned, and the state has given us, we have it in the bank, the 33,333. Because
Hold on right there. That 33,333 is for both years, or is that just through June 30?
June 30
of 2020.
Correct.
Very good. That helps me.
Correct.
Thank you.
And so, the hiring process would maybe take a month or so. We'd get an SRO in to finish up the school year. So there really is no need to split that other third, because your cost is not going to exceed the 33,333 for this school year. But that funding would go to you in whole, and I'm sure that Chief Doolin, may have some ideas of how to support that. You're going to have training, you're going to have uniform costs, things like that. And then in year 2, we would put in half of the remaining third, which would be approximately, $8,500.
And then,
Did I lose you?
No, I totally understand where you're at. But talk about vehicle, because we will have to buy a vehicle.
Correct. And we had discussed the possibility, since we're only going to get a few months of employment, you'll have plenty of money left to purchase that vehicle in year 1.
So
there will be money left, not plenty, because it's going to run about $40,000.
Right. I heard how much a police car costs. So, yes.
So just
hopefully enough to pay salary and a car.
in lay people's terms, we won't have any money except for any additional a couple $1,000s on a car in this fiscal year, basically. Is that what I'm hearing you say? Chief, is that what I'm hearing? That 33 will take care of 3 months 3 months salary, training, and most of a vehicle.
Yes, ma'am.
Except for probably the tires. I'm just joking. So we'll have that much money. And then for fiscal year 2021, if we're saying it's a $50,000, if we're saying that position is a $50,000, you all are going to pay.
The state, the grant, will provide the 33,333.
$8,300.
So, and the county,
Correct.
right.
And then we'll
county,
split the other half.
Gotcha. So we're actually going to pay, in two fiscal years, we'll pay probably $16,000, $18,000.
So is the first year now through the end of June?
Yes.
Correct.
And then 2021 is the second year.
Correct. We actually...
You're only really going to have the SRO for a year.
15 months. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
For the rest of the school year and all of next year, and then hopefully we'll see that benefit and we can continue to partner to provide that service. With this grant, we received funding for 2 SROs, and we partnered with Oakbur on the 2nd, and they were able to get an officer into the Oakbur STEM school February.
So why, I'm stupid, why are we just now? Why is it just before us now if they've got one started in February?
We have been talking, and I think I was scheduled to come maybe a month ago.
Okay. Because I saw where they had introduced theirs in Oakboro.
Right.
Okay.
It'll take a little while for Officer Doolin to find someone to go into that position.
It will.
And so then he'll have to hire somebody to replace that position on the road. So we have to be careful taking too many off the road without having somebody come back on.
Have we had one in the elementary schools before?
I was just fixing to say that, yes.
Yes, okay.
We had exactly what she's talking about going back to now, about 9 years ago.
Yep.
And it was stopped, and I think we need to start it back. I would hope that we would also start back the programs that officer was doing in the schools for the elementary students.
I think at that time, that officer, which may be in this room unless he left, that would have been Officer Hunt, I believe, helped teach DARE. I think we taught it at the 5th grade. We've now moved that to 6th grade. Officer Cook teaches it at the middle school now.
Council, questions?
So after the 2 years, we go back to the normal agreement with the school system?
50 grand.
50-50.
So you're actually obligating yourself for around $16,000 to $18,000 for the next 2 years is what she's asking you for tonight, roughly. If council's in agreement, I entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Bramlett, second by Councilmember Louder. Further discussion.
I'm looking at Doolin in the eyes, wondering if he has that 10 in his or if that's going to come out of our general fund that has not already been appropriated somewhere. I'm just playing fiscal devil here.
He'll have plenty of unspent salaries this year, but some of the vacancies that he can turn over his
Say, I
hat.
had some lapsed salaries that
That's fine. That's very good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
I have a motion and a second. Any further questions? All in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
I have an unannounced delegation, Sandy Selby Mullis of the Stanley County Chamber of Commerce.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, council members, Mr. Ferris, for allowing me to speak tonight. I just wanted to come in and introduce myself. Sandy Selby Mullis, the new president of the Chamber of Commerce. So I just wanted to come out and thank you. We appreciate the support we get from our municipalities. And of course, we're located here in Albemarle, so you're all very much appreciated. We appreciate the fact that you not only are members of the chamber, but you come out in great force to a lot of our events, and that's very important that we get the support of the council. So thank you for that. And while I'm here, I'll just invite you to a couple of events we have coming up. I hope y'all can come out to our new office place on Wednesday. We're having a ribbon cutting for the Chamber of Commerce and an open house to show off our new location.
What time?
This Wednesday?
This Wednesday. Yes, this Wednesday. From 3 to 5.
3 to 5.
Around 3 is when we'll cut the ribbon, and then we'll just have open house. So hopefully you all
Where is
can
the
come.
entry at? Is the entry at the Visitors Bureau? Where's the entry at?
Yes, we share the same suite as the EDC office and the CVB. So if you know where they're at, and there's a big sign outside below theirs and also on the door where our office is located. So you can come in without going through the Commons to get to our office. I recommend that because I'm still trying to figure out my way around the Commons when I get outside of our office space. The next thing we have is we're trying to implement business after hours and before hours again, and we have one coming up, and it will be hosted by Atrium, let me get it correctly. Atrium Health Stanley Women's Services are going to co-sponsor it with us, and we're going to hold it at Stanley, or at the 2nd Street Sundries, and that will be March 19th from 5 to 6:30 p.m. It's actually an invite to ladies, because we're starting with a ladies only business after hours, and it's in celebration of the International Women's Day that's celebrated this month. So that's a couple things we have coming up, and any questions you have, any comments?
Council have any questions?
If we transgress, can we? Don't ask.
I'm not going to throw you out if you show up. So.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sandy.
Moving into our administrative reports, number 9, status of various city development projects. And Cindy, are you going to do this? Okay.
By Troop 191.
Come again.
Mayor and City Council, as you know, you have already received a one-page summary of description of the 7 different projects that Councilmember Hughes had requested. I'm just going to actually literally go down the sheet. So the first one is the Pfeiffer University Center for Health and Sciences building. Per Stokes Construction, the estimated time of completion is still August 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020. 2020 The reserve apartments, thanks to our planning development services crew and particularly Jay Voiles, I received the following update. The preliminary plan was approved by council on October 2nd, 2017, for those of you who were there. The project was officially submitted for plan review in late 2018, was approved for construction on October 9th, 2018. The contractor pulled the building permits on January 25th, 2019. The project is 100% complete and received certificate of occupancy on December 6th, 2019.
Cindy, pull that mic down just a bit, if you don't mind. Thank you. Thank you.
The third project, the Atrium Health Stanley third and fourth floor renovations. The fourth floor renovation is complete as of January 2020, and third floor patients have already been moved to the fourth floor. Third floor renovation just started in January. Estimated completion was spring of 2021. The fourth project, new City of Albemarle Police Department, as you all are probably aware and have been following this. It's scheduled for completion in March. However, because as you just heard about CALEA and the accreditation process, staff would prefer to move in over the summer in order to complete the accreditation process fully, and so not to disrupt that. The next project, the new EMS base at Hillco and Barnard Street. As of February 2020, our source said that the foundation was set, the steel girders are up, and they are currently working on the brickwork. The guesstimate for completion is August or September of 2020, and of course that's subject to weather delays, since they're still working on the outer girding of that until they get into interior work. For the local Walmart, the manager on duty I spoke with on February 12th, his name was Adam, and he confirmed with me that renovations are complete and that they were no longer planning, at least anytime in the near future, for any further renovations for that store. And finally, the GHA Autism Morrow Valley project link. That was easy because apparently GHA Autism has a whole webpage on that, which I gave you all the link. And per the link, construction began last September 2019, and is anticipated opening anywhere from May to July of this year.
Council, have any questions?
Back up to the EMS base. Back up to EMS base.
Yeah.
Completion date when?
They said August or September of this year.
And I'm throwing this out, Ross. I don't know that we need to think about this, but I just thought about it. Is there going to be a need, and I don't know without having stuff in front of me, are they on a list for any road work? Because we know that once that EMS base gets there, there's going to be a lot of in and out there.
DOT going to do that?
Remember, that entire road is going to be upgraded during this widening project.
But there's nothing that needs to be done before. That's a DOT road?
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I didn't think so.
They're going to do it.
But they're going to do
it
the work.
because of the EMS?
Because of the 24-27 widening, they're going to widen and repave all of our streets in that area.
I understand that. But the timing of things is what I'm thinking about. Is there any need? Because it's my understanding that DOT and the widening ain't going to be that soon.
Oh, no.
EMS will be done a long time before they ever get to that.
So everything new that's happening out there now is done with what's happening with DOT to reroute our road, so there won't be any reworking or stepping on each other's toes. It's all done with that in mind.
I understand that. I'm just saying that because if we think that DOT is going to be out there rerouting things in 2021, it may or may not be 2021. So we just got to keep in mind that there's going to be a lot more traffic out there on that small, narrow road until the DOT does. I understand that's going to happen. But there's no need for us, because that road right now, because of the tearing up on it, and they've done a lot of road work out there, putting in, I guess, the infrastructure underneath the road, because I've seen bumps in the road and that kind of thing. But there's nothing that we're going to have to do or need to do. Is that what I hear you say?
Ross, anything that you know of? Yeah, I haven't seen anything down on Hillco.
I've seen where they said there's a bump. Looks like they've torn up. I don't think I'm dreaming.
Almost at the turn right there where Barnard is.
Yeah.
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 I've seen it.
Yeah. It's okay, just fine, thank you.
Building those apartments.
Just to follow up with what you said about the police department, you said that construction, the building will be complete in March, but they want to move in the summer.
That's correct.
So construction on the building will be done this month.
They are estimating right about the end of this month they will finish.
Wow. Don't look like it.
Now, we got to understand though, they have to have time to get all their furniture in and everything built for their evidence and all. So it'll be summer before they're ready to move.
Okay. That's just the contractor's completion date.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you, Cindy, for doing this. I think it's good for our constituents to know that we have a lot of large projects going on in the city. There's a lot of money being spent in our community, and I think this kind of just gives an update. A lot of people don't know what's going on, when is it going to be finished, so I appreciate your effort and time in this.
Dexter, they are a little ahead of schedule, but I'll be surprised if it isn't the first or second week in April before they finish and are ready to turn it over to us. Any further questions? Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you.
Number 10, an update on the minimum housing code issues. Mr. Robinson, is that you?
Anything?
I don't know that there's anything to be mentioned beyond what was in the agenda package. We had a couple emails asking for these, so I'll just cover it. The first one is 110 Park Ridge Road. Essentially, it's not where we could, against the owner's will, as we've talked about for a while, do anything, but we've made contact with the owner, worked with the owner, and they permitted us to burn that structure. So in speaking with Chief Bruton, it looks like the second week of April is now the target date. Of course, there have to be state permits for air pollutants and other things acquired, and those are all being addressed. And so it looks like the second week of April, because we do have the cooperation of the owner now, that the whole property will be removed.
Versus April 4th that was in the packet, right?
Right.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a shifting date depending on permits and whatnot, but that's, I guess the bottom line is just it's in sight and it's going to take place, it looks like. So then 443 Colston Street. This was added to the list of properties in May. So at that time, we already had a full list of properties for this year to go through the process. So this will be, hopefully our goal to add it in the next round and then have it addressed and put it in our process. But when it came up, we had a slate of things for this year. But as you know, it takes a little while dealing with the owners and addressing all the properties. It's not a simple process. So this one will start and begin its journey through the process until the owner does something voluntarily, or more likely we have to take action.
Council, any questions? Okay. Moving number 11, update regarding the Public Housing 5-Year Agency Plan and Capital Fund Program. Who's handling that, Gary or Nikki or who?
It's like deja vu with Gary Lewis coming up here. And he'll have to move that microphone.
It's been several months since I've had the opportunity to stand here. So, Council, I want you to know that I'm very appreciative of the opportunity to come back and be a part of this process of getting a housing director. And it's been a great experience dealing with the city administration, city manager, the assistant city manager, and the human services. And I've been on the outside, and I've had this opportunity to come inside, and I'm sensing some excitement because of the changes. And so I commend you, and I've been retired 7 years, you all know that, but now that I see what's going on in our city, our citizens and all of our constituents should be really impressed with our city. And I commend you with sincerity.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the agency plan. Council, you all have dealt with the agency plan. Well, it's been presented to council at least about 15 years or so. And so what happens is HUD requires us to do this, and we submit to HUD basically our capital fund improvements and the budget, and if there's going to be any changes in our policies at that time, we include those in the agency plan updates. And what I did in the memo, I've given you the items that we want to consider, the capital fund grant budget for 2020. During my tenure, you would always submit the agency plan's budget before you got the funds. And I don't know if that's because we have a astute president or what. But anyway, we have received funding before we submit the budget, and that's great. So I don't know if that was because things are, but we're grateful for the amount that we're getting, and also make sure that you see the note in there that those funds will be used to support our dual project bid that will be presented to you in a few minutes. So do you have any questions about the agency plan? Of course, I included in my memo that we will have a public hearing at both housing sites so our residents will know what's going on. And
anyone have any questions?
So the public hearing is in April.
April 2nd.
I just had the question, the annual statement, performance, and evaluation report. I just noticed over in the corner it says expires June 30th, 2017. Is that just, I mean, is that supposed to be 2020 or what?
Okay, I need to find out exactly.
That's it. It's the 5-page document that.
Okay, it's a spreadsheet.
Good catch, Martha.
Well, I just didn't know if that was supposed to be June.
5-page document. What page is it?
Well, it's. So is that just?
I've noticed that myself.
Okay.
And I look for.
Oh, I see that now.
Our consultant prepared this for us.
Okay.
And I went online just to see if there was an updated form, and it had the exact same thing. So this.
So this is your government, our government at work here. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Gotta love it.
This right here.
Federal, not local.
Yeah, federal. Let's say that. Yeah, because it does say, Nikki, on the bottom. You know, it says Form HUD, blah blah blah, and then it says 2014. You know, so I'm thinking, there's the form number, and then up there it has June 2017. So,
yeah,
okay.
But it's their form, and they can do like they want to.
That's, yep.
We'll submit it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Okay, that was just a question I just had for point of reference.
Nikki, one question about the doors.
Yes, ma'am.
At one time, we were going to fix the ones that need to be fixed, which are almost all of them. Then we're not going to do that. We're going to fix all of them. And then there was a recommendation that we not leave that in the contract.
So you're going to be getting an update tonight from Wayne Stogner, who is the consultant for this. If my recollection serves me correct, it would have been just as the cost would have been the same or almost the same if we refurbished some of the doors. So we decided to just do a replacement. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right. So they thought initially that refurbishing some of the doors would save us some money, but after getting more advice from our consultant Wayne Stogner, it was determined that it wouldn't be that great of a cost savings, if any at all, and it was better just to replace the doors.
Good.
So do we normally approve this before the public hearing, or?
No, we're not asking for approval. This is just for information. We'll come back to you late April, I believe.
Okay.
Thank you.
Further questions?
So when we go to residents with some of the agency plan changes and policy changes and what we're going to do with the money, we want you to be aware in case there's anything that would happen to be controversial, which we don't think in this round. But there could be some change at some point that somebody would object to, and then you all, as the actually Housing Authority Board, would be aware of that.
Gotcha. Okay.
And if you get counsel, may get questions. So we want to make sure you know what we're proposing, and then bring it back to you for your approval.
Good.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Ms. Hall?
Thank you. This has nothing to do with the capital fund program that I'm about to ask, nor does it have anything to do with an item later on the agenda. It's just something that's hanging out there. There was some discussion about going tobacco and vaping and anything smoke-free completely on the premises. Where are you with that? or you even know that that's even on the agenda?
Is that?
I don't have any knowledge of that, but I can find out and bring that information back to you. I do know that they are smoke-free, but that's the extent of my knowledge. I can bring information back.
Okay.
That's just in the units, right?
Yeah, and for some reason, I don't know if I had dreamed it or something, or if that was something I wanted to move forward on, but I think that we've got to do moving forward. Go ahead, Nikki.
Yeah, we'll look into that and bring information back.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
I would like to commend you on the information that you had prepared for us. It was very thorough, and I understand some things now that I certainly didn't before. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Number 12, your municipal calendar is in your agenda. Anyone have any questions?
Yes, I do. And Nikki, I'm sorry, this is not fair, but come back up if you don't mind. There was a date that you were trying to find sometime in April, and I can't even remember what it was for.
I believe it was Dana trying to find a date for a workshop for council to go over the revised personnel policy.
See, it was you, Dana. It was, those two new folks. So do you know where we are on that, or is?
I think Dana's going to put that on the March 16th agenda.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Consent agenda. Anyone have anything they want to bring out on that, or you approve it as is?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Aldridge, second by Councilmember Townsend. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Under new business, consider awarding a bid for the public housing exterior interior door replacement project. Mr. Stogner, you want to come forward?
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm Wayne Stogner with Stogner Architecture. We have the results of the recent bids in your package. We had the original bid scheduled for February the 6th, but we only had 2 bidders, so we had to go back out for a rebid, keep up with our procurement. And on the rebid, we had 3 bidders. The low bidder was Hemco Properties, LLC of Albemarle. They gave a total bid of $1,361,217. They were slightly over my estimate and considerably below the next bidder, as you see, well over $500,000 below the second bidder. Always when we have this kind of discrepancy, we'll talk with our bidders and see what's going on. Kyle Marks has indicated that he's looked at his bid, he's good with it, feels like he's got the right number, and so we're recommending an award to Hemco. It's not that unusual at this day and time that we're seeing bids this far apart. A lot of contractors are overloaded and they're just throwing out high numbers hoping one of them will stick. So that's really what we think's going on here. We've bid other projects recently, and it would come in close to the range that Hemco was, so we feel like, they're within range of what we're seeing other projects go for.
Council have any questions?
A comment, I guess. So we approved this on April 1st of 2019. Does it normally take this long to get to this point in the process? I mean,
not always, but the market has been flooded lately. We're seeing 2 to 3 times the number of projects we normally see in a given year. We've been busy. Contractors been busy. We were trying to work out some details that got the best system to accommodate, especially for the exterior doors. Went with a heavier gauge door than we typically go with on this type of use. We're going with an 18 gauge commercial grade door for the entry doors. As compared to a 24 gauge or probably 27 gauge or 24 what you have now. They'll dim a lot easier on those gauges, so we've gone to a heavier gauge. Worked out a way because it was The door that was in there was a non-standard size, so we were trying to find a system that we could get a standard door, so that in the future, if you need to pull a door for when it's damaged or whatever, you can get a standard size door rather than having to order a custom door. And so in that system, we're tearing out some of the framework that was put in when those doors were there to widen the openings, so you can get a more off-the-shelf door if you
Right,
would.
right.
Probably not something necessarily you'd find at Lowe's without ordering it, but people like Seven Oaks or whoever would keep those probably in stock because it's a standard size.
I'm just glad it's, I'm thinking it's been a year for these folks to, we approved it a year ago, and they still don't have their doors.
I think
It's been a slow process, that's for sure.
I think I heard you say that you even looked carefully at the amount of money difference in the.
We've looked at the money. There was some confusion at one point about how much money we had available and whether we had enough, so we took a number of alternates. The base bid at $1.3 million, that replaces all of the exterior doors, all of the interior doors on both sites. We did have a deduct to omit the interior doors on the elderly site. That was $77,000. So that's kind of an option, just to omit doing anything to the interior doors on that site. But for the amount of money, you'd be able to get all new doors everywhere. So that was the other options. We looked at refinishing some of the existing doors on the interior and replacing some, going through and identifying which doors were in the worst condition and just simply replacing those, but other doors, looking at an option to refinish them. And luckily, Kyle's price was the same to refinish them as it was to give you a new door. So that's why we recommended there's no deduct in that case to go to a refinished door. So everything will be fresh and new on the doors. The door frames will get painted. It also includes cleaning and some minor work to the outer door, the storm door, as it is now. So that door will be cleaned and get some minor upgrades as it goes through, but it's not being replaced. It's in good condition.
Just a procedural question. In a situation like this with that many doors, do the city normally surplus those doors, or do we just scrap them, throw them away?
That becomes up to you. If you want to salvage some, the housing department was not looking for any salvage on the exterior doors particularly.
That will actually be decided by council.
Well,
how do we, it is property, so if you either way you do it, council will have to approve it.
We've been handling it,
Maybe somebody be willing to bid on them.
That'll be up to you guys.
Okay.
The entry doors, there's no benefit to the housing department to salvage them because they're a different size. They're an oddball size.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, if you can sell them for scrap, you can sell them for somebody that's doing a renovation on a property where they can adjust the door size, no problem. But it doesn't matter to us whether you salvage them or leave the contractor get rid of them. So the metal doors probably have salvage value.
They probably do.
As steel.
Scrap metal. So you feel comfortable they're all three looking at apples to apples?
They are looking apples to apples. We met with them on the job site. We've talked to them.
Okay. So no change orders?
They're all looking at it. We're just seeing, a little greed get in the picture with people got work that's backed up. And so they're saying, we're going to bid high if we bid. We're seeing, we've dealt with both of the other contractors in the past. One of them we're seeing bids a lot of work that we do, and we're seeing him high on probably 90% of it, which means he really doesn't want it. He's just hoping one lands, and if what you get the low bidder don't bid, then sometimes you're looking at those higher bids.
Good.
Back to Ms. Hughes' question. We started talking about this 11 months ago, and now we're going to hopefully award a bid tonight. What's your date of completion estimated?
I'd have to look and see how long we gave him. I believe we gave him about 9 months total, if I recall correctly. He would be able to start, I would think, fairly quickly. If he's using the door system that we specified, that company says they can get them within 2 to 3 weeks, start shipping them once he places his order. There'll be a period of a couple of weeks getting contracts and insurance and bonds taken care of.
18 months. 2 years. Yeah, that's right.
You're shaking your head back there. Tell me how long. Okay. Okay.
Your Honor, are you ready to entertain a motion?
I think I have a motion and a second on the floor, do I not?
Do we? Yes.
Yes.
Who made that motion?
Down here.
Michael, who was the motion?
Chris made it.
I don't think we've got one. I don't think we've got one.
Okay.
No, I'll move that.
I'll entertain a motion then.
I'll move approval.
Well, you've got everybody wanting to do it.
Motion by
I didn't think we had a
Councilmember
motion.
Bramlett, second by Councilmember Hall. Further discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Now, talking about disposing of the old doors, is council good with letting Mr. Ferris make that decision how to dispose of that? If so, I'd entertain a motion on that.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Aldridge, second by Councilmember Townsend. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wayne, you've been doing this a long time for us.
I have.
And I just tell you to remind your folks back in Rockingham that Stanley News and Press is spelled without an E in it.
Did they spell it wrong?
Yes, they did.
That's where I saw it.
And they've been doing it for a long time.
Oh, my. I'll
know.
tell them about that.
Thank you.
Maybe they're doing it on purpose.
Number 16, Resolution 2001 for financing with First Citizens. Ms. Birch, there should be no reason to excuse Ms. Hughes since the decision on who it is has already been made. This is just proving the resolution, correct? Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve the resolution.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Aldridge.
Second.
Second by Councilmember Whitley. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Number 17, the Albemarle Business Center infrastructure construction. Mark, if you would come forward. Mark has been working on this with our engineer, and he has some options before you tonight, and you have a list of pros and cons in your agenda with each option.
I think the options that we have, present a different perspective of the way this park can be developed. And I really think that y'all are going to be making the decisions on how much you want to expand on this park and developing it. My summary of it is this: is that I really like the Mayor more to speak with the details of each item because I think that's really where your decisions are going to be made. What I'm really I'll support whatever the council wants to do. With any, like for instance, if the road doesn't connect on both sides, which we have options presented where it is, that it's going to create certain traffic issues because the questions are going to be able to whether you can go east or west. So if the west side is not available, then the traffic's going to have to come up on Henson and go across the 2427 in front of where all the shopping and all that is. And as the number of companies come there and the number of trucks increase, that'll create traffic issues there. Of course, going to the east will be easier because they'll be able to get out and get on 2427 where Anderson comes out at that point. And if it's only on the west side, then you won't have the trucks. If they're going east, will have to come up across and come up to 52 and get on 2427 going east, which will jam up from that direction. So I think that's I think, and I realize that we have to look at budget. I just wanted to kind of give you the ideas of issues we're going to be dealing with, because I think the more robust the park is, the more likely it is that it will be successful. And so, for instance, if we don't have water going all the way through, then we'll be limiting ourselves in situations. We're going to have certain companies that might want to come in that might have plastics. They would, if that's not connected, those companies might not be able to locate because of the types of pumping systems that they would have in them. If the more flammable products that you have in your building, the more extensive the pumping system has to be for the building. And if and I ran into this situation in the Monroe case when I was in Monroe. One of the businesses we located there had a lot of plastics. They made plastic products, and because of that, they stored a lot of plastic. And if there was a fire, you had to have a very robust system in there to put that fire out. And when those systems kicked in, if you only are getting water from one direction, it can suck the water out of the pipes. Whereas if you have two systems where one backs up the other, comes from two different sides, pretty much the systems can handle themselves, and it won't suck the system dry. It'll be able to maintain that pressure throughout the whole system. So that's one reason, or really an important reason, to have the full length of the water system through there. The electric system. Again, it's the same thing. If you have coming in from one side and that side has some kind of severed cable or something like that, then you have to pretty much everything has to stop until that's fixed. If you have it from both sides, you can feed in from two sides, and then when one side would be damaged, the other side can feed it in from that direction. So those are the main concepts that I think are important in having having all these kind of redundancies available, and so really it's a decision to. And I understand that there's a desire to to save money initially and develop it at one side at a time, and it'll function and we can work it that way. It's just that I think it'll be more effective and be more highly successful if we would have the kind of a full, robust system. And as we heard the other night, that if we don't have if we don't have something to offer, we're just not going to get the products. And we've got several groups out there that are marketing heavily for us. We haven't done a lot so far because it really wouldn't be effective to market to bring people in here right now. We've done some through the Business Journal, and we've got the write-up on that. But to get out and fully market ourselves at this point would be bringing people in here and really wouldn't be able to provide anything for them. So I think but the state is doing a really good job. The Charlotte Regional Alliance, their business alliance, they're out there hustling to get people in. Electricities is out there doing the same thing. And so the sources are there. We're a great state to attract industry. And so the opportunities are there to be able to locate industry into the park. It's not going to happen all at once, and that was witnessed when we went to Monroe. That it won't be, but by having the park that we've designed, I think we'll have the best opportunity because we'll have the redundancy. We've really got everything. The only thing we really don't have is rail, and that's not a big issue. I mean, it can be beneficial, but it's not a big issue. But we have everything else. We have good transportation opportunities. We got excellent broadband coming in from both sides too. We've got the water, the sewer, electric, and the potential, and I think a good potential to have that backup generation. And they had a park like that over in the Gastonia region, which that park is full, and they got those in there. And that shows you the difference of, we talk about having some parks here in our area, but because of the fact is that if it's owned by private sector, they're asking a different price for those projects. And as we're out where we are, it's a much better situation to have the park built and sold by a local government unit, because we can control the price on that, and we can have much more opportunity to locate those in there. And we have, really excellent capacity in our water plants and our sewer plants. Our electric capacity is really good. So we have everything to just really build ourselves up to be able to attract the industries to the area.
One thing Mark mentioned, Electric Cities, and I did not know this till 2 weeks ago, we are advertised in the American Airlines on the airlines flights in that back seat pocket. They're advertising us in that periodically too, and I did not know that. So we're getting some coverage in the park. It's just we don't have anything to offer right now.
When you mention redundancy, does that mean if you can't get in one side, you can get in the other?
Well, if you have, yeah, so let's say...
You can get electricity from one end, or if you can't get there, you get it from the other end. Is that what you mean by redundancy?
Right.
Yeah,
so you have
okay.
a backup. In case something happens in one area, you bring it in from the other side. With water, what would happen is the water primarily comes down from the eastern side of the city, and because it's flowing downhill in a sense. But on the western side, it's actually got a valve, it's a pressure valve there. So if the pressure would reduce because like fire, the sprinkler systems would go off in a facility, that valve would automatically open. It would have a meter on it. We'd be actually connected into the county system, but it would have a meter on it. And so that valve would automatically open and bring in the water from the backside. I mean, it's essentially our water, it's just that it's on a county pipeline. So that if it, it wouldn't just, if it's coming out of one side, it would usually just suck all that water out of that system. But if it's from two sides, it's backed up.
Because when you're looking at these numbers, also remember these are numbers estimated for us to contract it to be built. We've got permission to do our own water, sewer, and electric through a General Assembly gave us a local bill, so we can do them ourselves. And those numbers would be considerably less by us doing our own work. Our big cost that we're looking at is how to do the road. Ms. Hall?
Which brings me back to when we had First Try on here, the last time we did. I don't have the numbers in front of me, and regretfully, I did not bring them. But what was turned on? How much was turned on out of general fund for the road?
$5 million.
Okay, and you're sure about that? And starting in 2020, 2021?
Yes.
So $5 million was set aside for that. And I'm glad you made the comment that we've actually got, with these four numbers in front of us, the four different, you've actually got 3 different funds. Basically got water and sewer, electric, and then our general fund. So basically we got 3 possible funds there. I think that one, and I'm just speaking for myself, but I believe this is a consensus, that no matter what is done out there, okay, no matter what comes out there to that piece of property, that 282 acres, which probably half of it is it's maybe able to have construction on it. Whatever's done, we know that we got to get a road out there, and water and sewer and electric.
Correct.
I think that's a consensus of everybody.
Too, so.
I think that's, and I'm just trying to get consensus right now,
exactly
Mayor,
right.
because we know we've got to do that. Number one. We know number 2 that it's going to be less expensive. Strike that. Possibly less expensive to go ahead and do it now versus later. I think that, I don't know if that's a given, but I would think that it is. So I think the other thing that we've got to decide is just how much we're willing to go for, to put it out there for.
Well, let me, Ms. Louder.
I guess I'm confused. Every time you talk, I hear something a little different, and I don't know whether it's the same things we've planned on, and you're just saying it in different terms, or...
Well, I'm being consistent. There's just a lot to talk about. I mean, there's all kinds of aspects to this thing that the part that I've covered the essentials. So I tried to cover the essentials tonight as far as the importance of having redundancy. But we've talked about traffic, transportation. We're in an excellent place because 2427 has been widened all the way to Charlotte. Charlotte's got the Charlotte Douglas Airport, which is one of the largest in the world. In the United States, it's the second largest one for American. I think they get like, I forget the number, 800 flights a day or something like that maybe. It's a significant airport. And also in Charlotte, they have two intermodal facilities. One is run by CSX. It's from truck to train. And CSX one has a dedicated line to the Port of Wilmington, which now has a shipping capacity for the new Panamax ships, which now, because they widened the Panama Canal, now we can be competitive over here on this coast to ship product out into the Pacific, which we really weren't before we were looking at Panama Canal. The ships are largely moving around. The other intermodal facility is provided by Norfolk Southern, and that's actually at the airport that's located. But they're both only an hour away from Albemarle, both of those intermodal facilities. And if the company wants to drive their own trucks out to the port, it's only 3 hours. So we really are in a good position for transportation. And because of the changes with 485 and 27, we're in effect not physically closer, but we're closer in time. So there's so many details that go into all this that I can go many different angles about the advantages that we have.
Well, that advantage would be anywhere we could put it in Stanley County.
Well, the good advantage that we have is the site that we've chosen is right next to the city where all our utilities can feed right into it. Our water's going to feed into it and hook up both sides. Our electric will hook into it from both sides. The good thing about the sewer is that the site is such that that's fed by gravity. It all goes down one side, and you want all that stuff to flow downhill, right? And it will just flow right downhill and flow right into our sewer plant. So from just to me, to have that large piece of land that was owned by one person who got a good price on it, and have it have all those features, we couldn't have found that. We looked all over the town. There was nothing like anything similar to this in the county. Plus, there's a gas pipeline, major gas pipeline, that goes right next to it, and there's a regulating station right there. So they'll be able to get all the gas, the water, the sewer, electric. It's all there. It's really, I think we're fortunate to have that right next to us like that. That land is readily available, and I think the plans that y'all put in place. Y'all been planning for a long time, but I guess from 2013, 2014, the city really put together some really good plans. That involved the downtown, it involved manufacturing, it involved retail, along the way as we started working with the downtown, getting someone to do the hotel first, and then Pfeiffer came along, and that just really it made things more exciting and is helping a lot. We've demonstrated our capacity to attract industry and retain industry. So it's not as if we're somewhere out in Netherlands. We're right here in a good place, and we have proven that we can attract new industry to the area. And I think what's really interesting is that we were able to do it with products that were less than desirable. The buildings that they located in were all pretty much old buildings that needed a lot of work. So we attracted a number of new industries, and we retained one that was getting ready to leave, and they had a huge offer from South Carolina. And we got together, the county, the city, and the state worked together on that, and we retained that in Forge and retained them. And that demonstrates that we have the capacity attract those types of students. They're higher paying wages. They create a more robust, say, middle income and higher. Where retail are great, and they feel the need for like students and maybe second jobs in a family and stuff like that. They're not the types of jobs that are going to build a family. The incomes that are going to build that.
Back to the agenda.
Do you have the options in front of you? What he's talking about, Ms. Louder? Did you got the options, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But I didn't know we really wanted to change.
I don't think we've made a decision on which one of those options. Council have not made a decision which one they want to go with.
Are we going to vote tonight?
I'm ready to.
I think we need to. Now you got to understand what we're doing tonight is giving the engineer, if we just move forward, giving the engineer authority to get the paperwork, to get everything together to go out for bid. Then you got to go out for bid. If we come back and we can use the bid, and the council will have to decide at that time if they're willing to accept the bid, whatever it comes back. And I would hope you would do it with multiple alternates, so you have some options when it comes back. But when that comes back, then you have to turn around and go out to bid for financing. And then if that's approved, then you have to go to the LGC. So you're looking, if you start now, you're looking late this year before you're going to award this.
I have to say it, though. This scares me to death. Of all the things we've done since I've been on council, I think this is the most profound issue with more money involved than anything that we've been confronted with. As a result, I've talked to a lot of people because I represent a client, my constituency. And we all have sort of the same kinds of questions. For example, we say we've got $5 million in the plan for the future, and we can do that without raising taxes. Am I correct on that?
That's what First Trine presented to us.
We can put $5 million. Now, we can do that, but what if something else comes up that is even $1 million? We would have very great difficulty taking that on without raising taxes. And we've raised taxes one time since I've been on here, and I don't remember how many cents and so forth. So what I'm concerned about is, will this tie us up to where we won't be able to do anything else if an opportunity does arise? The second thing, and I guess I've gotten too academic on this because I have read a lot about the way people see the future of North Carolina. And they're telling us, the ones I read, are telling us that the traditional model for economic development that involves this kind of park arrangement is not going to work for rural communities. And as much as we may hate to say it, we are considered by the world as a rural county. And it just concerns me greatly that if we spend $12 to $15 million, and that counts what we've already spent, and nothing happens, that would be a tragedy for our community. Or even if we get 5 factories, that would be still a failure in a project with this size and involving this amount of money for a community of our size. And Mark, I know you talk about what we've gotten so far and that sort of thing, but these have not been majestic developments. They have been rather mundane, to use a bad word, I know, but they're real, and I'm proud of them, and I'm glad we've got them, and that sort of thing. But I just have I don't want to vote tonight. I guess we may have to, but I don't want to because this is the first time we've seen this broken down into these 4 options like this. And I'd like to study a little bit more, particularly what we're going to do if something else comes up within the next year or 2 and we have tied ourselves down to everything we can do without raising taxes.
Mayor.
And I'm proud of what you've done with this. If we didn't have Pfeiffer coming in here and maybe the possibilities of some more things associated with that, I'd probably be out front carrying a flag for this. But I'm just really concerned about what that's going to do with our community, being rural, and the possibilities that I'm reading, that those possibilities just aren't good for this kind of development.
There are a lot of rural areas in North Carolina, and there are a lot of rural areas that are not doing well, and we are one that is doing well.
I totally agree.
And we've got a lot of future opportunities here because we're in a good place, and things have changed a lot recently for us. And that, as I've already described, is the transportation. That is a big deal that's happened. And all the improvements that are being made that we have access to, those are really big changes that make us, like I say, closer to Charlotte. And the other thing that we have, varying from a lot of the rural areas, is we're not out in the east part of the state where most of those areas are. We're in the center of the major cities in North Carolina. We're in an ideal place. Not only do we have Charlotte Douglas International Airport, but you've got Raleigh, it's 2 hours. That's an alternative. And you've got Greensboro, which is an alternative as well. So it's not like you're just locked into one airport. I mean, the fact that we have 3 international airports that are available to us and a port like Wilmington, a deep water port is, that's.
Well, Charlotte is a port.
Right. I'm just saying we actually, and they do have intermodal facilities there, but we actually have a deep water port only 3 hours from here. I don't see anything that indicates, anything I see does not indicate that manufacturing is not going to be successful. Everything I see shows that manufacturing is going to be successful. What's happening in manufacturing is it's been happening since the beginning of time, and that is we have new inventions that create labor-saving mechanisms. And so that's been happening forever, and that's continuing. So that's keeping us more competitive. The more labor-saving measures we have, but still creating jobs, because we want to create the jobs, the more competitive we are with areas in the world where they have to rely on low wages to produce products. We'll be able to produce those products through advanced manufacturing. We have an advanced manufacturing facility, a training facility here. We're in a 300. Another thing is we're quote rural, but we're within 30 miles of here. There's 300,000 people that work. So it's not as if we're just kind of isolated somewhere out in a rural area. We're really in a main area of the state, and one that's growing. So I understand what you're saying, it's if you have a well-planned plan and it's implemented.
Hang on, Mr. Townsend's next.
Yeah, and it's implemented. You are going to attract, but just to say that, well, maybe we'll get another project out there. That's not the same thing as saying we've put together a plan that's robust. It's going to attract industries. We know we have the players out there that are going to bring the industries in here. The state, those different agencies are going to do that. We'll be able to work on those ourselves. So we're going to have a whole team of people. And North Carolina has always been in the top 1 to 3 states in the United States in attracting manufacturers. It has. Everything is to me is aligned, and it's not when I first did put together the plan, Councilmember Hall, I divided it up, not showing that it would use all the land, but when Chambers looked at it, they actually figured out a way to utilize most of the sites. So, but we're looking at at least 12 industries could locate out there. And another thing is getting the big fish isn't always the best thing in the world. It's better to get a bunch of smaller to medium-sized manufacturing companies, and diversified, so that if one part of the economy does slow down, the others are still operating. And if a big company shuts down, that's a big problem. But if one small company shuts down for some reason or other, that's not it's not as big, because you got all the others that can still continue to work and to create wealth in your community. So, I've said all my life in economic development, I'd rather create a bunch of companies with maybe, like some of the ones we're bringing in, because they're small, they're growing, just like what we saw in Monroe. They had small companies there that grew, and went from 75 to several hundred.
Mark,
yeah, I'm sorry.
I hate to interrupt you.
No, that's fine. I'm sorry.
You just mentioned it, what you saw in Monroe at the last meeting or meeting before last. We talked about what you saw in Monroe. Mm-hmm. First of all, we said, and I see the four options that we have before us. One of the things that stuck with me whenever we presented you presented the summary from Monroe was they done it in phases.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And we talked about the first phase. They built the infrastructure for 1,000 feet
right.
of roadway and infrastructure,
right.
and X number of building sites on that 1,000 feet roadway.
Right.
I don't see that. I have no idea what option 1, option 2 is as far as road, the footage
right.
of the road,
right.
how many building sites you can get out of option 1, option
right.
2, option
right.
3, option
right.
4.
Option 1, Mr. Townsend, it will have to go almost 3,000 feet to get 5 sites.
To get 5 sites.
Because it's a longer run from the Henson Street side to get sites.
And of the acreage that we have, those 5 sites, how much?
I couldn't begin.
See, we got a lot of unknowns.
We can. I don't want to say that, but there are what's good about our site right now. It's very flexible. We can, we could get if we had to right now, we could get if there's a project that came in, a big one like you're saying, we could put together 60 acres or so to meet the needs of that industry.
On which option? On which option?
That would be if
I need to see it.
Actually, it would be more in the middle of the site, of the whole site, up on the more on the southeastern side of the site. That would be a real big area that we could do that. Actually, I submitted that to several companies that were looking, but there's small. Those can be smaller sites. Now, as you develop it, your options become fewer because then there's less play. But initially, we've got big options to locate big or small. And like I said, as we go, and companies take up space, and that just reduces. I mean, then the configurations become not as flexible. So,
the entire site all the way through is a little over 6,000 foot. So if you're coming in from the Henson Street, you're going to come about halfway. Is what they've estimated at these prices.
For the option 1 is
for the
about 3,000.
About 3,000 feet.
The picture shows, that second page 2 of the 9 shows that that's about halfway.
Right.
2 comments.
Sure.
We're not, if I understand correctly, we are not tying our hands tonight to any money other than sending this back to the engineer to move forward with going out for bids.
Which may cost you a little bit to get the bid part done, but yes.
But that is the only money we are tying our hands to.
Tonight, right.
Number 1. Number 2, I keep hearing industry, and I'm not still sold that that's all that's going to go out there. But I am sold on that whatever goes out there, we're going to have water, sewer, electric, and the road. So, and it can't be piecemeal. I mean, there's no reason, and I love in Union County, those of us that went to Monroe, it was good. Here was the thing on Monroe. You had, when you went in, you were able to get back out on another way because of the way it was developed, okay? Then you were able to go around this cul-de-sac and end up over there. What we have in front of us, we have 2 entrances. So, looks like to me if you go in that way, you're going to have to come out that way if we only do a half job, if you will. Again, we're not committing ourselves, we're not tying our hands to $5 million on general right this very minute. And again, we've not decided what all is going or what could go down there. But we do know that it needs to be done. I don't want to commit myself to $5 million, but tonight we're not doing that. We are just moving forward on whatever we say 1, 2, 3, or 4 or not to move forward on giving it back to the engineer. Guys, we've been, and I understand we got a lot of other things going on, but we've been working with this for 5 years.
I thought you just started when I came, and it was a lot. Oh, my goodness.
Let me throw this out and see how this factors into it. The RPO this month will submit our next project list, road projects, on the 19th for DOT to consider assigning points to. And this is one of the projects. The road is one of the projects. Mayor and I met with...
Stop. The road in its entirety?
If we haven't already built part of it.
Okay.
I mean, that's the problem.
That's fine.
It will be probably a year before we know how it will score.
Well, we're not going to
Possibly.
we won't have a road built in there in a year.
And even then, once if it looks really promising, it depends on how promising or how high it scores as to when they might build it. So, that's been the problem the whole time. The major difference on here is the cost of the road. And I think the reason going in from Henson to begin with was a way to try to phase it in, because that's where the water is. And if you go in from the other end, you got to go all the way to get up to the water. So I think this is part of the reason that option 1 is in there. So the difference between the road in option 1 and option 4 is about $3 million. So I would assume that that's kind of the figure that we'd be looking at, because if they build the road, that's just it. There's no water, sewer, electric. They're not going to do any of that. They'll just be doing the grading and the paving and the curb and guttering and all that. So I don't know.
They probably would not do the curb and guttering because it's not a requirement.
But if they told the mayor and I, we asked them if we started, how could we mess this up? And they said there really wasn't any way, like if we built a portion of it, that still would not necessarily prohibit them from approving the project to fund the rest of it. And didn't they even say that it might even help that we had already done
They actually
part
said
of it?
if we started, it would actually help the situation.
So, I don't want to promote this as something that may happen, but I don't know how that factors into it. If we were to approve option 4 and move forward, do we run a parallel path with RPO trying to get that project approved? I don't know.
Your Honor, I have a motion I'd like to make.
Sure.
At least we'll have something up.
Real quick, if I could.
No, Kevin.
Talk about this and everything. First, I think I have to check on the curb and gutter. I think it is required unless it's watershed. Lots of things going on there. I like the project, but I also understand what you're saying. We don't know what it's going to be yet. There's different issues either way you come if you don't do the road all the way through. Going on to Henson, let's say we get 2 businesses there. Let's say it's a wild success. We have to put another business in. How do we slow that down? How does that lock us out phasing that in? We actually have to put the rest of the infrastructure in going all the way out to Business 52. How much traffic are we dumping off of Henson onto 2427 out there? There's a lot of issues there. It's not my decision. I think if you're going to do it right.
Your Honor, may I make a motion?
Build it through.
Yes.
Thank you for those comments, Kevin. I'd like to put on the table that we move forward on option 4, giving option 4 back to the engineer to come back with, and I don't want to hold his hands to anything, but it's my understanding he would come back with specifics on money and all those kinds of things. Because there's nothing in here for us to approve. All it says on the agenda items, here it is.
All right, are you saying do option 4 only or do alternates?
I am placing on the table a motion to give it to the engineer for option 4, because right now we're just going back and forth with nothing to vote on. That's what I've got the motion on there for.
I have a motion to move forward with option 4.
Second.
Have a second by Councilmember Hall and Councilmember Aldridge. Cindy. Further discussion.
So how will we know, and I heard you say that we can do our water, sewer, and electric ourselves internally. At what point will we know what kind of costs we might incur if we done it on our own?
Until he gives us some numbers of what kind of materials we would need, I don't know that we can give you anything until they have that. He would have to give us materials that we would be needed, and we would have to get prices on materials and that type of thing.
Where do we get these rough estimates?
Those are rough estimates based on previous jobs he's worked.
Okay, so what would this motion do?
But that's also with somebody else putting it all in. This motion would just tell us to go back to the engineer to get the bid documents together and go out to bid.
What if our people do a lot of the work in water, sewer, and electric? What happens to the work that might have been done otherwise if they weren't involved in this?
They will be working it in.
Won't get,
they will have to work it in as time permits.
I just have to say, I'm so sorry. I'm going to vote against it, and I hate it worse than anything in the world. I just think the questions that we don't have answered, I just don't see how we can move ahead. But I know it would be good to have a place like this to. I keep thinking Monroe took 25 years to develop that one.
It did.
And you're doing this part for your great grandchildren and all that. You're not doing it for today. You're doing it for the future.
Also still have the question about how do we move forward with the request from DOT for this project.
Well, I think you go ahead and put in the request and get it on the scoring so we can get it scored.
Okay, so at some point,
you built that road, I'd vote for it. I'd make the motion.
If I knew how they're going to score it, I'd tell you. But, we just won't know until they get way on into it as how those projects will score. And if it's not scoring well, that's it.
And even if it does score well, you could be looking at years.
It could be.
Motion on second on the floor.
Further discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Motion carries to go forward, would get a bid and bring it back to council.
On option 4.
On option 4.
And was that 5-2?
That was 5-2. And I have heard you're moving forward with one bid, no alternates. That's what I've heard. Is that correct?
That was my motion, and somebody can amend it at any time.
We've approved that, and let's count some alternates.
You'd have to rescind that.
All right.
Well, we could rescind it if we needed to. I don't hear an alternate coming up.
We can always change something. Let's just go with that.
Listen, guys, now that it's over with, at least we've moved forward with it, and we don't have to, if we decide.
We don't have to accept it.
No.
We don't want to go. We don't have to.
We don't have to go, but guys, we've got to put it to bed.
Okay, coming around, Mr. Ferris.
I don't have anything to add.
Mr. Townsend. No comments. Ms. Hughes.
No comments.
Mr. Aldridge.
No, sir.
Ms. Hall.
I'd like to go last, please.
Mr. Whitley.
Nada.
Mr. Bramlett.
Thank you for neighborhood theater. I think that is a great opportunity for us. The lecture we had earlier in the week, last week, with Dr. Dan Pierce, I honestly couldn't believe how well that thing was situated for something like that. And I see a lot more opportunities for that on down the future. Again, thank you for that.
Ms. Louder.
No comments.
Okay, Ms. Hall.
And on that, April 4th, there's going to be a real magician at the Albemarle Neighborhood Theater, a real magician. That night, 7 o'clock or whatever, and probably if the ticket sales go as well with that as went with that last event, it will sell out a week before the event happens. The Wine Festival was a huge success this past Saturday. It could never have worked, okay, without an enormous amount of volunteers. And so I thank from the bottom of my heart the many volunteers that came out and worked that. Last Thursday, there was I don't know what they were calling it. It wasn't really a business after hours, but an event that was held at Four Rivers, which is in the old McClellan's building. Isn't that McClellan's building? Mm-hmm. If there's anyone on council that has not been into that facility, you are missing out on a treasure. Just the renovation of the facility itself is just wonderful. The back of it. The ministry that's coming out of that facility is one thing, and I say ministry and I mean it in all that ministry stands for. But the opportunity of us being close to the water and to Mar Mountain and to camping and what they have got to offer in that facility to rent, okay, not just to buy but to rent, is just great. So I'd say if you've not had an opportunity, go down and check that place out. I see, and I'll ask Mr. Ferris if he has an idea. We've got a lot of job openings right now, don't we?
We do.
A lot of job openings, and we've got some more department heads, not department heads, but I call them secondary department head positions open, not the department heads, but I look at Judy. We've got some superintendent. Yeah, I mean we've got assistant. We've got a lot of things opening now. So, keep your eyes open. We're going to have new people on the horizon. And lastly, in front of you, our new HR director put in front of each member something that we have asked for, some evaluation forms. So I think we just need to look at those and moving forward.
Anyone in the audience have anything come before council? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion that we adjourn until 6 p.m. tomorrow afternoon for a parking workshop.
Where is that going to be?
In the community room. And at the same time, they will be having the CALEA meeting in here. Typically, a lot of members of council have always come to that CALEA meeting. Does council wish to start a little later and come to the CALEA meeting first?
Do we have some public coming to our meeting?
I have no idea.
Parking plan?
I know we got one.
I've talked with one too.
Let's keep it
Let's keep it like it is.
All right. I'll entertain a motion. We adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Councilmember Hughes, second by Councilmember Louder. Further discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.